It looks like Ukraine has made a serious leap in military tech. They've developed a laser weapon capable of taking down aerial targets at altitudes over 2 kilometers. Vadim Suharevsky, the commander of Ukraine's drone forces, dropped this info during the European Defense Industry Conference. The laser system, which they've named Trident, isn't just a concept. Suharevsky insists it's real, functional, and already being fine-tuned for even better performance. Now, this isn't just any weapon upgrade. If the claims hold true, Ukraine is positioning itself alongside the few countries capable of deploying laser weapons. That's huge. These systems are game changers. They're precise, cost-effective compared to traditional missiles, and perfect for intercepting smaller, harder-to-hit targets like drones. And we all know drones have been playing a central role in this war. Speaking of drones, Suharevsky also touched on a fascinating new development, so-called mother drones, or queen drones. These beasts can carry 2 smaller combat drones and act as relays deep into enemy territory, flying over 70 kilometers to strike high-value targets. He called it a breakthrough for Ukrainian drone tech, and honestly, it sounds like something out of a sci-fi movie. What's even more impressive is how far Ukraine's defense industry has come since the war began in 2022. In less than 6 months, the newly established drone forces have already organized combat units across air, land, and sea. Pair that with projects like the Palyanitsia hybrid drone missile system and these laser weapons, and you get a clear picture. Ukraine isn't just holding the line. They're innovating their way through the battlefield. Sure, we'll have to wait for independent confirmation of these claims, but one thing's clear. Ukraine is moving fast. They're turning technological ambition into real-world tools. And in modern warfare, that can make all the difference. 2 Slovak political parties have teamed up to push for a referendum to end sanctions against Russia, and they've already gathered over 160,000 signatures. The effort is spearheaded by the left-wing Slovak Revival Party and the right-wing Homeland Party, with their big event held in Bratislava on Monday. What's interesting is that this isn't just a fringe movement. Former Justice Minister Stefan Harabin was there, along with members of NGOs like Free Zone and the Association of Slovak Intellectuals. Harabin didn't hold back, calling Slovakia's relationship with Russia an existential issue, and even suggesting that without Russia's support, Slovakia might not have maintained its statehood. He slammed the sanctions as provoking Russia and argued they're not just illegal, but downright harmful to Slovakia's economy. Harabin pointed out the irony. Nearly 1 million Slovaks are living in poverty, yet we're importing the same Russian gas at 4 times the price while people struggle to afford basic needs. What kind of leadership is this? Homeland Party leader Pavel Slada echoed the sentiment, saying their petition, signed by over 160,000 Slovaks, carries a clear message. Russia is not my enemy. On Facebook, he urged the public to join the movement, declaring, "Let's stop anti-Russian sanctions together. Slovaks, move forward." This push raises some big questions. Are these parties simply reflecting economic frustration, or is there a deeper political strategy at play? Either way, this growing anti-sanction sentiment could have ripple effects far beyond Slovakia. So, here's the deal. A Russian submarine, armed with missiles that can hit targets up to 12,000 kilometers away, was spotted near the Philippines. This wasn't your average submarine sighting. According to a Filipino official, Manila was completely caught off guard because this submarine looked nothing like anything they'd seen before. Here's how it all went down. The submarine was cruising through the South China Sea last week and ended up just 80 nautical miles, about 150 kilometers, from the Philippine province of Mindoro. Naturally, this set off some alarms, and the Philippine military scrambled warships and planes to keep a close eye on it. Now here's where it gets interesting. The Russian crew told the Philippine Navy that they were just passing through on their way to Vladivostok after participating in joint exercises with Malaysia. Technically, they were within their rights to sail through the Philippines' exclusive economic zone, EEZ, but still, this wasn't a casual visit. The submarine itself is reportedly 74 meters long and loaded with some serious firepower. It's basically designed to operate stealthily underwater, which means the only reason the Filipinos even knew it was there was because bad weather forced it to surface. If it hadn't, this invisible killer would have gone completely unnoticed. So why does this matter? Well, the Philippines is no stranger to tension in its waters, especially with China frequently pushing boundaries in the region. Now, add a Russian submarine armed to the teeth, and the stakes feel even higher. Whether this was just routine passage or something more strategic, it's definitely something to keep an eye on. So here's what's going on. Russia has set its sights on winning the war in Ukraine by 2025, at least according to their defense minister, Andrei Belousov. He laid all this out during a big meeting with top military and intelligence officials, and yes, Vladimir Putin was there too. Belousov even doubled down on Russia's demands for any kind of peace talks. The first, Ukraine has to accept that all the annexed territories, Donetsk, Luhansk, Kherson, and Zaporizhzhia, are now officially part of Russia. Then comes the usual list, so-called denazification, which is code for kicking out Ukraine's current government, no NATO membership, and a neutral status. Oh, and if Ukraine doesn't play along, Russia says it'll just keep trying to achieve all this through war. Putin seems laser-focused on sticking to the original goals of the invasion, demilitarizing Ukraine, enforcing neutrality, and basically installing a puppet government in Kyiv. Belousov, likely inspired by recent battlefield advances, boldly claimed that 2025 would be the year Russia finally achieves victory. But let's be real for a second. What does victory even mean here? Ukraine surrendering outright? That seems incredibly far-fetched. During the Monday meeting on December 16th, the Russian Ministry of Defense outlined plans to take full control of the 4 Ukrainian regions they already claimed. Again, that's Donetsk, Luhansk, Kherson, and Zaporizhzhia. Whether this is achievable or just propaganda to boost morale remains to be seen. And here's another thing. There's talk of Russia potentially clashing with NATO within the next decade. If that happens, this whole conflict could escalate way beyond Ukraine's borders. Whether this is all bluster or a genuine long-term plan is still unclear, but it's definitely something the world will be watching. Russian Defense Minister Andrei Belousov recently doubled down on Vladimir Putin's goals for the ongoing conflict in Ukraine. During a key meeting in the Kremlin on December 16th, he outlined Moscow's plan to fully take control of 4 Ukrainian regions, Donetsk, Luhansk, Kherson, and Zaporizhzhia, by 2025. Right now, Russia already holds significant portions of these territories. 70% of Donetsk, 95% of Luhansk, 75% of Kherson, 75% of Zaporizhzhia altogether. These regions make up around 20% of Ukraine's total landmass, which shows just how high the stakes are. Belousov's statement aligns with a broader strategy Putin laid out back in June, and it's clear that 2025 is being framed as a pivotal year. The minister even referred to achieving final victory by that time. Though what exactly victory means in practical terms remains vague. Is it complete military control, political dominance, or forcing Ukraine into negotiations under Russia's terms? What's clear is that Moscow is determined to consolidate its hold over these regions, and the timeline shows they're not banking on a short-term resolution. For Ukraine and its allies, this raises tough questions about how to counter Russia's persistence, especially as these territories play a huge role in the war's strategic and symbolic significance. So, is 2025 just a hopeful projection, or are we seeing the groundwork for a prolonged and calculated escalation? All right, here's the scoop. Russia's Rostec Corporation just rolled out the latest version of its dispatch drone, and it's not your average piece of hardware. This thing is built to handle everything from logistics to combat support, and here's the kicker. It's completely immune to electronic warfare. Thanks to its optical control system, you can forget about jamming or interference messing with its missions. Oleg Yevtushenko, Rostec's executive director, explained that drones, whether airborne or ground-based, are becoming indispensable for modern military forces. And it's not just about the hardware. Advances in optics, radio electronics, and material science are what make this possible. Now here's where things get interesting. The dispatch drone comes in models that can carry 100, 200, or even 500 kilograms. And this isn't theoretical. It's already being deployed in real combat situations. And apparently it's delivering some seriously impressive results. From delivering ammunition and supplies to conducting reconnaissance and even providing fire support, this drone is a true multitasker. What really stands out, though, is its core mission. Yevtushenko made it clear, this drone is all about saving soldiers' lives. By taking on the riskiest tasks, the dispatch reduces casualties and increases safety for troops on the ground. With this latest upgrade, Rostec is doubling down on cutting-edge tech, making sure their military stays ahead of the curve. Love it or hate it, you can't deny that this kind of innovation is reshaping how wars are fought. Germany's economy is in serious trouble, and it looks like the situation isn't improving anytime soon. According to Bloomberg, their economic indicators are now worse than they were pre-pandemic. To put it into perspective, the German economy is about 5% smaller than it would have been if things had kept growing at the usual pace. What's causing all this? Well, two big factors stand out. First, Germany gave up on cheap Russian energy, which used to fuel its industrial might. Second, their once dominant car industry is struggling to keep up with China's booming electric vehicle sector. Both of these issues are hammering Germany's competitiveness, and experts are saying it'll be tough to recover from this. There's a shocking stat from analysts. Every German household is effectively losing around 2,500 euros a year because of this economic downturn. That's a big hit, and it's not just Germany that's feeling the pressure. This decline could drag down the entire European Union. Amy Webb, head of the Future Today Institute, pointed out that while Germany won't collapse overnight, this is a slow and steady fall, and Europe might not be able to escape the ripple effects. Germany's economy has been stagnant for the past 5 years, and the outlook for this year isn't great either. Inflation-adjusted GDP is expected to shrink by 0.1%, according to the German Institute for Economic Research. And it's not just the experts who are worried. A YouGov study shows that most Germans view their economy as bad and don't expect things to get better anytime soon. The real question is, can Germany adapt to this new economic reality? Or are we witnessing the beginning of a long-term decline for Europe's largest economy? Big developments might be happening soon in Cairo. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has flown in for talks about a potential ceasefire in Gaza. According to sources from Reuters, a deal to halt the fighting could be signed in the coming days. What's especially significant here is that discussions aren't just about the ceasefire. Negotiations are also expected to focus on the hostages Hamas captured on October 7, 2023. This adds another layer of urgency to these talks, as resolving the hostage situation has been one of the most emotionally charged aspects of the conflict. Interestingly, Egypt is taking a central role in these negotiations. Lebanese channel Al Mayadeen reported that Egypt has also invited Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas for an urgent visit. Abbas is expected to arrive from the Vatican, and the channel hinted that progress on the hostage agreement with Hamas is looking more and more likely. On the other side, Hamas has signaled that a deal might be within reach, but only if Israel stops introducing new conditions. This raises the question, are both sides willing to compromise enough to make this happen? For Egypt, which is positioning itself as a key mediator, pulling off a deal would be a major diplomatic win. But with tensions still high and many details to iron out, it's not over until it's signed.